The grout we're using today, which is a Curacao Fugabella, very good water resistant, flexible grout. As I say, always read the back on any of your grouts for the ratios and pot life, etc. Okay, a bucket with measurements on the side is very handy for measuring out your correct ratios. Add your water up to your desired level, followed by your grout with the quantity that is on the instructions. Then just pour away. And then the mixing. So all grouts are different. With this particular grout, with the Curacao grout, sometimes it will appear that you don't have enough water with it. It looks very dry, but you just have to keep mixing so the particles bind together and then it becomes more wetter. And here you can see it looks very dry, but the more you mix, the more it starts getting looser, like this. And now this is turning into a really nice mix. It's good to mention at this stage, just make sure your walls are clean of dust and dirt, as we don't want it going into the grout. Give your paddle a spin in your bucket of water to clean it, and then a little mix with your trowel to check the consistency. And yeah, this looks about right, not too sloppy or not too hard, just a nice medium consistency. Okay, load your float up with a reasonable amount of grout. And then holding your float at an angle and using the side, just work it across the grout joints. You'll know if the angle's right or not because you should be able to pick up the excess grout on your pass-throughs as you go. Just keep rubbing it in and flow over all the joints. It's good practice that when you go back for a refill to just clean your float down, just so it doesn't drag too much across the tiles. And load her back up and go again. Grouting mosaics as a whole is quite time consuming and will eat up quite a lot of grout, so just make sure you're prepared. Later on in the video I'll show you grouting just some normal 60x30 tiles, which is a bit more straightforward and quicker, let's say. But the general process is the same on 99% of the tiles. And then the same with the corners, just work it in there. And again, trying to take off as much excess grout as you go, as this will make washing off a lot more straightforward. And you'll obviously save yourself a lot of grout. Right, now it's time for your first wash, also known as a dirty wash. Just check the grout with your finger first to make sure it's started to harden, then you know you're good to go. This wash will just be getting off some of the residue off of the tiles. Give your sponge a clean and a good rinse out, and repeat to get that residue off. Just make sure you don't get the grout joints too wet. You want to keep your sponge as dry as you can. Next, we'll be moving on to the clean wash. So I'd recommend a gap of about 10 to 30 minutes before going on to the clean wash. You just want to make sure you don't get too much water in the joint, so make sure it's had time to dry before moving on to this step. And all I'm doing here is keeping the sponge very tight to the wall, moving diagonally across the joints just to get the rest of that residue off so it's nice and clean. And here's me grouting the 60x30 tiles. These ones are ceramic, so it means the grout will go off a lot quicker, opposed to porcelain where it takes a bit longer. This is because a ceramic tile is very porous, opposed to a porcelain tile which isn't porous at all. So just bear that in mind as to when you need to wash off. Same here with the clean wash, nice and firm, and a dry sponge. And when I say dry sponge, that just means it's wringed out as much as possible, just so it's not so wet. Something you'll see me doing a lot is flipping my sponge. When I feel one side's taken enough grout, I'll flip it over, use the clean side, and I'll rinse out. For any other questions, feel free to ask me in the comments, of course. Great, and that is that wall all done and looking really good. This can be buffed with a rag to get a nice shine to it now. Okay, so these wedges are a great hack for finishing edges. They just help with giving that really nice finish. Really good on the ceilings as well. And I'll show you that next. after this wash. So grout the area as we just learnt. Give it a nice little wipe over, or dirty wash as we call it, followed by a scrape. And a clean wash to finish, and you should be looking good. Awesome. I hope this video helped for first time grouters and you picked up some tips and tricks along the way. Thanks for watching. Happy grouting.